Hi guys, welcome to Cake and It's Special. This week we are going right back to basics and I'm going to show you how I fill and cover a cake in fondant. So here we go. So I'm starting by levelling my two 8-inch vanilla cakes. For this I use a cake leveller because truthfully I'm not always very good at doing it with a knife. I stick my first layer to a 10-inch cake drum with a tiny bit of buttercream. This just helps to stop the cake from sliding around the drum. Once the first layer is down, I'm going to add a really thin layer of buttercream. And this is going to act as a barrier, so when I put a layer of jam on here, the moisture doesn't get absorbed by the cake. Now I take my second cake and add a layer of buttercream. I'm not worried about it coming out over the edge, I'm more paying attention to make sure that the layer of buttercream is spread out evenly. Then I can place this cake on top of the other, making sure that both the cakes are lining up evenly and the top is flat. And then I can add a crumb coat. A crumb coat is a very thin layer of buttercream that covers the whole surface of the cake to lock in all the crumbs. It is very important. Don't listen to anybody that tells you that you don't need to do it, because you do. When I've put the buttercream on, I make sure that it is nice and smooth before putting it in the fridge for around 20 minutes or until I can touch the buttercream without making any marks or any coming off on my finger. When it's set, I can add a thicker layer of buttercream. I layer it on using my small offset spatula. There are a lot of different types of spatulas, but I prefer the small offset spatula. I find that I have the most control with it. And when the cake is covered, I take my bench scraper and run it along the side of the cake until the buttercream is nice and smooth. For the excess I'm left with at the top of the cake, I take my offset spatula once again and drag the buttercream into the centre of the cake until it's nice and smooth on top. I keep going until I'm happy and then I can move on to fondant. For this cake, I take around 1 kilo of fondant and knead it until it's nice and soft. It's always better to have a little extra fondant than not enough. Then I dust my work surface with corn flour. Some people prefer icing sugar, but I find that's too sticky. While rolling out fondant, it's important to keep rotating. This helps to roll the fondant out evenly and also stops the fondant from getting stuck to the surface. Next, I lift my fondant with both hands and drape it over the top of my cake, immediately smoothing out the top, releasing any air trapped underneath. Then smoothing out the fondant around the top edge to stop the weight of the fondant pulling on the edges and creating tears. Now I need to smooth out the sides. I pull out the pleats and smooth the fondant down to the base, making sure that I don't get any air trapped underneath, but if I do, I can release it by creating a tiny hole with a toothpick. When that's done, I take my fondant smoother and smooth right down to the base of the cake, making a tight seal before using a sharp knife to cut away any excess from around the board. Now I take my time and use 2 fondant smoothers to get as smooth a finish as possible. Finally, this is optional, but I wanted to cover the board. I roll out a long cord of my excess fondant and cut a straight side. And then stick it to the board with a little bit of buttercream, pushing it right up against the cake. I then lift the cake up and use my knife to neaten off the edges by dragging my knife along the board. Make sure you keep cleaning off your knife as you go. And there it is. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Went for a different kind of tutorial this week, so if there's any tutorials you would like to see me make, please do let me know. And as always, please do subscribe to this channel for a new cake tutorial every Wednesday. Thanks guys, bye!